We were asking, you can continue to chime in on this, 844-770-3776. Carl was talking text line. List is more. We were asking you basically who is to blame for a player feeling pressure to play through injury. Is it the trainer/team? Is it the player? Is it media? Or is it fans? The other side of this is, and listen to multiple podcasts, is that with, obviously, Dame going down hurts the Milwaukee Bucks' chances. Jayson Tatum helps the Milwaukee Bucks' chances, him going down with an Achilles injury. Tyrese Haliburton going down with an Achilles injury helps the Milwaukee Bucks' chances. So it is kind of a weird time right now to be a Milwaukee Bucks fan because your roster is completely dispersed. I don't know if Lopez is going to come back, Bobby Portis. Pat Connaughton's coming back, but that's only because he knew he was not going to get $9 million from anyone else. So that speaks to his value in the league. And so maybe they bring back Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter. Like, these are not names that get you super excited, which means the Bucks' best asset could be Kyle Kuzma paired with like a 2031, their unprotected pick, or the pick that they own could go out and they could try to get something done to truly go all in. And before I'd be like, no, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. But now you got Cleveland. That's the only team I can say unquestionably is better than the Bucks.
Knicks?
No, I can't say for sure. When you have Giannis, who is unquestionably the best player in the Eastern Conference, top 3 player in all the league, like that is, and for me, I don't say the Knicks because they don't even have a coach.
Okay, but they still have Jalen Brunson.
I don't care. Jalen Brunson was not Jalen Brunson until Tom Thibodeau got the most out of him. Like, Jalen Brunson is not he's a very specific type of player. He is a 6'3" bully guard that needs a good system for him to be able to score. So you have to bring in a coach who's going to run this system. Thibodeau ran a system that had Derrick Rose, and you have the point guard and do all that. Like, Jalen Brunson needs Thibodeau to get to this next level. I don't consider Jalen Brunson. He's far closer to Tyrese Haliburton than he is to Giannis, in my opinion.
And as of right now, we don't really know for sure who he's going to be playing with next year. I mean, the Knicks already fired Thibodeau. They might be moving guys out, moving
Cat could be gone. Cat's likely gone. And then you have, and the other part of it is the Knicks have a guy. Like Miles Bridges is a heck of a defender, and so is OG, but they're not. Mikal Bridges is a heck of a defender, so is OG, but like they're not scorers in general. Like you got, like their offense is broken. When you watch it, it's like I got Jalen Brunson and nothing.
Okay, I would also take those supporting players versus who the Bucks have as supporting players.
True, but Giannis to me is head and shoulders above anyone else in the East. Like there's not a player that's close to Giannis.
That's just because Brunson's only 6'3".
But Giannis is it's not like Jalen Brunson is a all-star player. Giannis is an MVP multiple times. Like Giannis is a upper echelon player. This is like the discussion between Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love.
But here's the thing that you love to say is Giannis is the outlier. Yep. He is not the standard, right?
Right.
So like you can say that he's better than how many players, of course, but also in the grand scheme, we look at him, we can say how many teams are better than the Bucks, even though they don't have a Giannis level player.
Well, and this is where I want to get to the question: is having Giannis enough to make the Bucks finals contenders from the East? 844-770-3776. That's our second siding limited poll question. Is having Giannis enough to make the Bucks a final contending team from the East? And a lot of it comes back to John Horst. Because there are trades out there that the Bucks do have. So a little bit of example, I'm going to try to make this as palatable as possible. Chris Middleton, good for him, took his $33 million option. That would have been a nightmare for the Bucks. You want to talk about a team that be cooked. A $33 million Chris Middleton, you were in far more worse shape. So at a bare minimum, maybe Horst could have gotten more, but getting off of Middleton and getting into Kuzma and his descending salary was huge because the Bucks now have, for lack of a better word, options. Because now they can decide they could sign and trade Brook Lopez, who might not get a ton of money on the open market because of again the way the salary structure works in the NBA. But they could say, hey, we're gonna sign you, we'll trade you another team immediately, we'll get a asset back. They can trade Dame if a team is looking to get off of a long-term contract. So I don't know the exact player, but there are players out there who are good players who could play basketball this year. Bradley Beal comes to mind.
Yeah.
I don't think Phoenix is in the we want to blow things up mode because I think they're still trying to they want to win enough because a lot of their picks are not theirs, so they don't want to be completely done.
We got a ton of second rounders.
But if you wanted to get off Bradley Beal and Bradley Beal has to waive his no trade clause, but it works in the trade machine. You could trade Dame's contract for Bradley Beal. Then the contract length is the same.
But is anybody actually going to pick up Dame, though? That'd be my concern.
It'd be a team that wants just to reset. They would rather lose. So Phoenix isn't the team, but that Bradley Beal's the type of player.
Phoenix might just want to take a reset year at this point.
But they don't own their own
don't
picks.
Control their own picks. Yeah.
So they don't want to.
Make it a 3-team trade.
Everything I've read is that like they don't want to blow the whole thing up. They want to keep Devin Booker around and keep him happy. So they don't want to bottom out. But Bradley Beal is the type of player. So you could get a player from a team that's trying to get out, because what works in the Bucks' favor is the hard cap. The second apron is what it's talked about. Other teams who feel like they aren't good enough to win, especially if you're in the West. If you feel like you're the fifth best team in the West, quit. You got OKC, you got Golden State, you got all these teams in front of you that are more likely to win. So there might be teams that be like, pull the ripcord. I don't want to do with it anymore. Portland. Anthony Simon's name has popped up as a player. I don't know if his money matches. Maybe they take Dame back because they're like, we're not trying to win anyways. We'll take his money back. We get to then have a reason to tank, but then also like in 2 years we have a $60 million hole in our cap that we can go spend money when we're ready to win again.
They like traded Dame on like good faith that they're like, hey, we know we're sitting reset and we want you to have a shot at a championship, and then you send them back and which is them officially saying we're trying to tank. Doing Dame dirty a little bit.
Well, Dame likes Portland, though. You bring him back. Like,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just think like the whole reason they were willing to trade Dame is because they saw the writing on the wall. They weren't going to be able to compete in the West. Wanted to give Dame a crack at a title, and they knew that it wasn't going to be with them.
Right, but Dame has no cracks at a title anytime soon.
No.
I don't think the Bucks are going to keep him after. Like he'll pick up his option next year. I don't think the Bucks are going to want to keep him around. Most likely. Do you want a 37-year-old Dame? I think you'd rather trade his expiring contract.
Yeah, I mean, unless Giannis is still here and he's like, I want to play with Dame again. That's the only reason.
And the hope is
him.
that the Bucks have players this year that Giannis is excited about.
And how are they going to do that? That's what in my mind always comes back. How are they going to make Giannis excited? Because you have a guy, John Horst, who just completely blundered this whole Pat Connaughton thing, really put your team in another crummy financial situation moving forward.
We're referencing the blunder in Pat Connaughton. Cliff notes, they were trying to pull a sign and trade off with the Kings for Bogdanovich.
This was back in 2020.
2020. They messed up the deal, and then they messed up the paperwork of Pat Connaughton because they thought they were going to trade him. But then when the contract they signed him to was a contract that they could sign and trade, but then when that trade fell through, they were stuck with a contract that was not void or not valid, so they had to like basically add another year on the fly to make it all good. And that's this said year.
So now you're asking your superstar to not only come back to a team that you don't even know what this team is going to look like next year, and you want to, and your superstar wants to continue to win titles that you are not going to be able to contend like for because you don't know what your team is. Follow me along here in this circle that we're making right here, right? And then you want Giannis to be able to trust in John Horst, who just completely messed up this entire deal with Pat Connaughton. You want to be able to place your trust in him to build a team that's going to win titles. That's what you're expecting of Giannis, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're all expecting of Giannis to be able to come back.
At this point, I'm taking Giannis at his word. He says he's coming back.
But now, I love Giannis. I love Giannis as much as the next person. And I want Giannis to succeed. And if seeing Giannis win more titles isn't with the Bucks, but he's winning titles, great. I'm a Giannis fan, okay? Mm-hmm. But, like, if you're Giannis, why would you come back to this?
Here's why.
It's messy.
844-770-3776. Carl Talking text line. Our side limited poll question is having Giannis enough to make the Bucks a final contender from the East? Because looking around, the teams that are most likely to be able to acquire him and win, they're out west. So now it's hard to win in the West, right? Like San Antonio. Like you could go there. Even with Giannis, San Antonio's probably the third or fourth most likely team to come out of the West. Maybe the second. Depends, there's a little bit there. In the East, no Tatum, no Tyrese. And so now all of a sudden you're looking like, well, if I stay in the East at least for another season, I could say after this year maybe I don't want to, but maybe it's easier for me to win in the East. The teams that can acquire me right now are not good enough to win except for maybe San Antonio, but they're in the West and they're so young, they might be a year or two away anyway. So are my chances really that much better? I can continue to play this out. If I re-sign with the Bucks, I get the most amount of money available to me. So like those are the cases for staying. I'm not going to go to loyalty because I think, look, you're Pollyanna if you think Giannis is just hanging out because he's built different. Like he's being pragmatic, and if you looked at it with these injuries in the East, it's probably easier to win in the East. So if John Horst says, like, I'm burning the whole thing down, I will burn any asset we have, I will do whatever it is, and I will involve you in every move, that's why Giannis stays. I'm not saying that's the right move. I'm just saying that's why Giannis stays.
But I also, just looking at the East, though, I still think the Celtics are a good team. Still
they're
think
trying
the
to trade
Pacers are a
Jaylen
good
Brown,
team.
though, because they're trying to get out from the hard cap.
I did hear about that.
And Drew Holiday. And Kristaps Porzingis. Like,
yeah, they might be a mess if
like
if all those things happen.
But Boston's doing a smart thing. Right now, Boston's saying, hey,
They're using a reset year.
Yeah, we can't win without Tatum. True. And if we get kind of what the Bucks just did, because they dipped below that hard cap second apron thing, you get more financial flexibility. Well, Boston can kind of try to fix on the fly and get some financial flexibility.
Yeah. I understand all the arguments for why you'd want to stay in the East, but
but that's not the question I'm asking. He says he wants to stay. I think at this point we got to take him at his word.
Okay, well, let's say the East is wide open. The Bucks somehow put a team together that's able to compete with a Knicks team with no head coach, a Pacers team without Haliburton, and a Celtics team without Tatum, and they play the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Even if they win, whoever comes out of the East next year is going to get their doors blown off by whoever comes out of the West.
Yeah, but if you get to the finals, like, at least you're giving yourself a chance.
Yeah, no, I mean,
so like,
I want Giannis back a lot. I do. I don't want any of my jerseys to become irrelevant. And I've got 2 Giannis jerseys.
You're wearing one right now.
1.5, I guess, according to Molly. But it's just, I don't see a way for Horst to be able to put a team together that's even good enough to get to the Eastern Conference Finals,
so,
even with these teams and their injuries.
On the other side, ESPN put together some trade options that the Bucks could do to build around Giannis. They also had options of trading Giannis, but we could focus on the ones to build around Giannis. This was from about a week ago, and we can see of how they could do it. And then this would be obviously paired with other moves the Bucks can make with free agency, because they do have some money that they can get a pretty decent free agent on a 1-year deal. So like they have some money. Gary Trent Jr. Like if you looked at the Pacers, I'll just look at it like Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter with like the Pacers. I'm sorry, Pascal Siakam is good. He's not, and the Bucks don't have him quite yet. But the rest of the guys, like Porter is a very young player. Maybe he jumps.
Yeah.
Like there are players, and if you build the team, now the question would be, can Doc build a team around Giannis that clicks in the way that Indiana clicked to be all the way around Indiana? So basically, obviously Indiana said Tyrese Haliburton makes the whole thing go, which is why I don't think Tyrese Haliburton or Jalen Brunson, if you look at those offenses, are elite, like superstar players, because they have to have a very specific offense for them to be able to be the players that they are.
Yeah.
And Giannis, you could play anywhere. Durant, all those guys can play anywhere. Giannis, if you build an offense around him, maybe he's a guy that can put it all together. And if you don't trade Dame, maybe you get him back for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you got a chance. You got a chance.
Then it goes back to like, does the trainer let Dame
I
play?
was just thinking that. Does he feel the pressure to play now? Is he placing the pressure
We'll
on
ask
himself?
that question again a year from today. This is Jim Matt Molly, presented by Coors Light.